Hi, I'm Mike with Woodcraft716.com. Today I'm going to show you how to build these awesome mission style end tables. I'm hoping to have some patterns available for this on the website at Woodcraft716.com. So be sure to check there frequently as we're going to update and upload a bunch of new patterns. I'll also have some links in the description below to some of the products and tools we use to make these end tables. But for now, let's get right into this. We'll start this project just like we start all of our projects. We'll start at the miter saw and we're going to cut 4 legs at 21 inches. Now we'll cut 2 pieces at 12 inches and 2 pieces at 15 inches. We'll put them off to the side and it'll be over to the table saw. Next we'll set our fence to 3 1/4 and then we'll take all of our 2x4s and cut off the rounded edges on one side. Alright, now we're just going to move our fence to 3 inches and we're going to cut our legs only to the final dimension. Cool, the legs are all done. Now we're going to take our 12 inches and our 15 inches and cut them into 1.5 inch strips. These will be for the side rails and the front and back rails. We'll run this through with the cut edge against the fence. Just like that. Now we set up our pocket hole jigs. Everybody knows I like pocket holes. I use just about every jig for certain occasions. I do like the spacing on the Kreg 720 for cutting pocket holes into 1.5 by 1.5. So we're going to do that just on the rails, both the 12 inches and the 15 inches. Now we'll just move on to the tabletop fastener slots. I just bought this Bauer palm router and I'm going to leave it set up for my tabletop fastener jig. I just have the fence set to the right dimension and I'm going to put in our tabletop fasteners. If you're not familiar with the tabletop fasteners, I'll put a card above, explains it. They're super easy to use. I use them in almost all my projects. Okay, now we'll start assembling this thing and it'll start to look like a box. I'm going to start with the 12-inch pieces on the inside of the 3-inch legs. I'm going to glue them, clamp them, and pocket hole screw them. Make sure to put your tabletop fastener slot at the top edge on the inside. Now we'll make another one just like it. Now that both side panels are done, we're just going to take our 15 inchers, put them in there, line them up, clamp them, and pocket hole screw them. Alright, now that our simple box is all done, we're going to flip it over and put the adjustable feet in. Again, if you haven't seen the video on this, I'll put a card above to where you can check it out. Super easy to install. I use these in almost every project I make as well. I'll start by using a 1 1/8 inch bit and then I'll go to a 5/8 bit. Then it's just a matter of putting some super glue around the edges, taking the spiked unit, dropping it in the hole and pounding it down in. Now the box is just flipped over and I'm going to hit all the insides of the 12-inch sides. So the 2 side pieces, that's the one in between the wider portion of the legs. I'm going to sand those up real good because once we put our slats in, it's going to be hard to sand. To make the mission slats that go on the side, we're just going to take a 2x4 and cut it to 15 1/8 inches. Then we'll set our fence to 3 1/4 and we'll rip them down on the table saw into strips. You'll need 6 of them all together. Now it's back to drilling some pocket holes. We just set our jig up to 3 1/4 and we're going to put 2 at each end. We'll drill these up and they'll be ready for the next step. Just like that. Again, we'll sand these before we assemble it because it's just going to be hard afterwards. So we'll sand all 4 sides, put them off to the side, and then they'll be ready for installation. See how good these bench cookies are working out? I'll put another card above to a video where you can make these super cheap and easy. Next we'll put our slats in. I just have this stick that's 12 inches long. I divided it into 7 spots. 3 of them will be for the slats and 4 of them will be for the spaces. So where the slats go, I put an X. Then I just lay it down on a divider and make my marks, top and bottom, both sides. And that's where we'll line them up and pocket hole screw them. Now we'll just glue it and pocket hole screw it. Now we'll just go ahead and use these plugs and fill our pocket holes. And that's it, we'll put it off to dry. Okay, this thing is looking pretty good. We have our slats in and our adjustable feet. I mean, this thing is pretty much done. Now we're ready for sanding. We're going to sand every bit of this, inside and out, and we're going to pay close attention to rounding over the bottom of the legs so that it's nice and smooth, doesn't catch on anything or have any splinters. Okay, this thing is looking great. It's all sanded up to 120, so this is good to go. Now we're going to start working on the top. So we'll need 2 pieces of 1x12 cut to 20 inches. Then we'll cut it down to size after. We'll also need 2 pieces for the shelf at 15 1/4. We'll cut those on the miter saw and they'll be ready for the next step. Just like that. And now we'll set up the pocket hole jig again, and we'll just drill pocket holes in one side of the shelf and one side of the top. And now we'll just glue it and pocket hole screw it. Now we'll just take the tabletop and we'll cut 1 1/8 off of each side. Should give us about 20 inches square. And for the bottom shelf, we're just going to cut it down to size a little bit big. We'll take multiple passes until it fits in there just right. Oh, and if you like woodworking videos, tips and tricks, tool reviews, and some business end, go ahead and subscribe, hit that bell icon so you're notified of all the new content as it's released. Now that our bottom panel is all set, we're going to put our pocket holes in it and get it ready for sanding. Next, we'll just hit the top and bottom with the sander. We'll make sure on the top to do the edges as well. The bottom doesn't matter because it's going to be inset. We'll get that all done and we'll be good to go. So now I've just flipped the cabinet on its side and I put the bottom piece in. I have a clamp on here that doesn't touch in the back, but it does touch in the front, and it hangs over just a little bit so that I can push my material up against it when I drill my pocket holes and keep it nice and smooth. I'll go around and do that to all of them. Now we'll take some 150 sandpaper and we'll just ease up the edges so nobody gets splinters. They're still kind of sharp. When I sanded, I just sanded straight to the surface, so the corners are still real sharp. We're just going to hit it with some hand sandpaper and take off those sharp edges. Now we'll go right on to the pre-stain conditioner and we'll do the top and the sides. The reason we use the pre-stain conditioners is a lot of times when we're using pine, it gets blotchy with the stain. This will help take care of some of that and make it a more even coat. We'll let that dry for about 10 minutes and then we'll get right into staining. I'm just using Minwax Red Mahogany and I'm going to cover this whole thing. I'm going to get the whole top, making sure that I do a good job on the sides and get a nice even coat. Once that's dry, I'll flip it over and do the back. Then it's onto the base. We'll make sure that we cover this whole thing and give it a nice even coat. We don't want any runs, drips, wet spots that dry. We want to make sure this whole thing is good and covered. We'll make sure that we got all the nooks and crannies and this thing's good to go. This thing is looking really sweet. The next thing we're going to do is put our polycrylic on. We'll probably put 2 coats on the top and the base. We're going to try real hard to do a good job on this, and we're going to get in all these tight little spots and make sure that we don't have any drips. We'll let it dry and do it all again. Now I just have this sponge with like 2000 grit sandpaper on it. I always use these in between layers of the polycrylic. So I'm going to sand this up and give it another coat of polycrylic, the whole thing, the base, the top, the backs, the bottoms. If you're interested in any of the products we use during this build, I'll put a link in the description below to where you can pick this stuff up. If you're in the market for it, go ahead and check them out. Alright, these are all dry, they look nice. We're good to go. Now if you've seen any of my other videos, you know I like to finish it off with some Johnson's paste wax, some 4/0 steel wool, and a pile of rags. I'll just take the steel wool, dip it into Johnson's, and start smearing it around, trying to go with the grain. Then I'll wipe it off with a clean rag and buff it to a shine. It will definitely take your project to the next level. And now we'll do the same thing to the cabinet. We'll make sure to hit all the tight spots and get it nice and smooth, just like the top. So the paste wax is on this thing. It is super smooth. Now we're just going to flip it over onto the top, space it out evenly, and put our tabletop fasteners in. We'll just start at one end and work our way around. And then we'll just go around and screw in the adjustable feet. And man, just look how these things turned out. They are super smooth. They're super nice. You can easily change up the color scheme to suit your needs. I think they really give off that mission style vibe that we were going for. If I had to change one thing, I probably would have stained them a little bit lighter. I did want to go with the Mission style a little bit darker, but this is a little too dark. But I think they came out great, and with the adjustable feet, they'll protect any kind of floor you have or your customer has. I really enjoyed making these with you guys. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. This was a great project, not too expensive. I would consider this an entry-level build. So if you want to see more woodworking videos, tips and tricks, tool reviews, and some business end, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell icon. Get notified anytime the new content is released. Make sure to check the description below if you're interested in any of the tools or products we use to make these end tables. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.